All right, I'm finally going to do it. We're finally going to watch the Vampires documentary, Vampire Survivors. Everyone keeps telling me it's a must-watch.
When Vampire Survivors burst onto the scene in 2022, people had a lot of questions. What exactly do I do in this game? Why is this so popular? And who the hell made this?
Vampire Survivors is a painfully simple video game. You control a character's movement, but their attacks are performed automatically on set timers. Your goal is to kill as many of the swarming enemies as possible by being aware of when your character is likely to attack. The more you kill, the more experience points you get, unlocking more weapons.
Hasn't this game been remade like 9,000 times at this point? Some version of this game over and over and over and over again? It's a genre. Was this a genre before this game? It's a category now? It existed also before in some variations. Okay. Just making sure. All right, first off, also, thank you for that. Dude, why is there a hype train going on right now? We're not supposed to be hype training at this point, okay? We're supposed to be watching Vampire Survivors, okay? There's a VTuber one. I saw Asmongold play it. I saw Asmongold play the VTuber one, and I heard it was great. All right, Dead is dead too. Thank you, TS Clay. I appreciate that. Prime doesn't want the subs. We're just in the middle of something. Okay, we're just in the middle of something. I don't want to not give you guys all the thank yous that you deserve. Okay, you deserve a lot of thank yous, and I feel like a jerk not giving them to you. You know what I mean? I think that makes sense. I think you can relate to that. But $5 a month. Well, it's now $6 a month. Asmongold moment. Yeah, I watch Asmongold from time to time. Asmongold's great. I like Asmongold. All right. It's how a lot of you discovered Pirate Software, was Asmongold. Okay, I subbed when you're offline. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Inflation? It's It's $6 a month, 20% inflation. Thanks, Biden. All right, you guys ready to do this? Dude, did everybody watch that video of his last night? Did everybody watch that video of his? I've been exposed. Is that what we're all doing here? Are we all outing ourselves as somebody who's watched the Asmongold video last night? Yep. It looks like everybody is claiming they're all Asmon simps around here. All right, you guys ready? Well, okay. Obviously, Flip, take out that last part. It's a bunch of nonsense. Let me get one more. Flip, start it back up right now.
And upgrades.
It turns out that this simple concept is incredibly fun to play, and Vampire Survivors quickly took the world by storm.
I think anything where you get to choose your own upgrades is super fun to play. As long as those levels happen fast, it's so much fun. The thing that sucks about it is when there's just one single meta strategy and then it's just not fun anymore.
Much to the surprise of its humble Italian creator, Luca Galante.
We wanted to tell the story of Vampire Survivors from its origins as a JavaScript side project to the team that rallied around Luca and the design of its weapons, characters and levels. So we were delighted when Luca was available to talk to us, especially as the only interviews he's done up until this point were via email. There was a catch though. Luca is a private person, and while he's okay talking to us, he didn't really want to use a webcam, which we understand. Developers don't owe us anything. Some folks really value their privacy. I mean, if the man doesn't go on stage to collect a BAFTA for Game of the Year, spoilers, he's probably not going to show his face for little old noclip. So we thought if we weren't going to have Luca on webcam, how do we represent him in this video? How do we tell the story of his life growing up in Italy?
I've never had a problem putting my face out there. You know what I mean? Also, I did hear this game was made with JavaScript, which is wild. Absolutely wild that this game was made with JavaScript. You're a face person. I'm a face person. Stop lying. You're a VTuber. Okay, fair. It is okay. What is more absurd, the fact that I'm a VTuber or the fact that this thing is made with JavaScript? Actual JavaScript here.
His struggles to find work in England and the many late nights he spent working on the game that would become Vampire Survivors.
So we did what any responsible documentarian would, and we had a puppet made. Say hi, Luca. This is the story of Vampire Survivors.
I have never played Vampire Survivors. After we get through this, I might have to play a level or two.
I used to play games of any kind. Really had this huge box of Commodore 64 cassettes and demos that were all full of, ripped off games, of course, that I inherited from my brother. And I would just every day just go through different games. I would just try literally everything. And then games that actually liked a lot were stuff like RPGs, Ultima series, Eye of the Beholder, Monkey Island, very, very big love of my life. And things changed quite a lot when
I never played Monkey Island. I don't know that one. I really, truly don't know that one. Your brother let you play games? Well, the thing is that Monkey Island is amazing. See, I never played it. I know. I'm sorry. I never played it. See, my brother let me play because I'm the only person that knew every one of the fatalities from Mortal Kombat 2, and I knew how to beat Battletoads. / I could beat Battletoads level 3. See, everybody failed at Turbo Tunnel. So if they wanted to play any level other than Turbo Tunnel, I had to go and beat Turbo Tunnel, and then they would get to play either level 4 or level 5. Level 4 being the surfing level, level 5 being the surfing level, level 4 being the ice level, right? Did you beat the rat? I beat the game.
the PlayStation came out, I think, where it became a bit easier.
Oh, dude, PlayStation was so good. Did you guys ever play Ridge Racer on PlayStation? That was one of my favorite games. It taught me the most valuable lesson in all racing games, which is don't take the inside corner right away. You can't just take the inside corner. You got it, dude. When you get the black Lambo, so good.
To actually find games. Before then, I just had to go for whatever I could scrape and find in stores. But with PlayStations, even in my little town near Rome, we finally started to see video game stores.
Dude, it also had Resident Evil was on PlayStation, if I'm not mistaken. There were so many good. Twisted Metal. Oh my gosh. The black clown car, the hidden 2 levels. Axel, the guy that was just like, his arms were wheels. Dude, so many good ones. Final Fantasy VII. Oh, there's so many good games on PS1.
And that's where I get into more, bit more mainstream stuff, maybe. Final Fantasy, JRPGs in general, really. I started to study programming in high school.
I wonder if he played Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve was really fun. I loved Parasite Eve. So good.
In Italy, I've been making games in my spare time since then, really. When I was 25, I moved to London. It was like 10 years ago, 12, more or less. And at that time it was really difficult to find a job in the video game industry in Italy, and there was very little to work for anyway. I just decided to move to London and try to find a job here. And I did find a job in McDonald's. That was great. And
typically people wouldn't say finding a job while making video games at McDonald's is great. But man, this guy's attitude. Dude, what a positive guy, right? It's like hard for my heart to hear a guy with such good perspective.
My English wasn't particularly good, so it was really difficult to have interviews and to actually let people know what actually I could do when it comes to programming and games. And so, whatever, just worked for McDonald's for almost 2 years, I think, until my English was good enough to finally manage to go through some interviews. And I had reached a point in McDonald's when I was just like, you know what, I didn't come here to do this. I'm just going to go for the first job I find, as long as it involves programming, even if it is gambling related. And so, of course, the first job I found was gambling related.
I know that a lot of people obviously aren't very excited about gambling and all that. And I most certainly do not. I do not disagree with that. Like, honestly, that's a fair take. But man, just the pure hustle that's coming out of this guy. The pure hustle. Some people don't realize how humble your beginnings can actually be. This guy gets a pass. A lot of people get a pass because sometimes people just need to just get it. You got to get that break. You got to get that break in, and that's like the hardest part is getting that first year of experience. Because once you get that first year of experience, the difficulty of getting your next job goes dramatically down.
Despite his worries about working on gambling games, Luca really enjoyed his first job in the industry. He got on well with his co-workers and mostly spent time fixing bugs in existing games.
I do want to say something here which is very surprising. You can there's this weird cognitive dissonance that exists between what you work on versus or your enjoyment of what you work on versus what it actually is. I worked at a tax company before Netflix. It was called Workiva. Back then, it was known as web filings, and it was one of the most mentally entertaining jobs I've ever worked on. Yet it was tax. So you could imagine that would be exceptionally boring, but it was actually such a good mental challenge at all points. It was very shocking. Like, there's this weird thing that does happen where you can enjoy a job that sounds absolutely awful, but actually is really fun in practice.
He progressed through the ranks and found himself in a mid-level management position with
That
lots
sounds
of
unfun.
paperwork and office politics and much less development work. Luca was desperate for a creative outlet.
What happened then, this is that I was so fed up with everything and I wanted so much to start making my own games that I started to wake up at 2 in the morning, work on my own RPG in Unity until 6 in the morning, then go to the office, do my 8 hours, and then I come back home and go to bed at 6 p.m. And that lasted for about 3 months.
You know, there's always this notion that if you really want something, you're gonna do it. And this guy is literally the epitome of, like, if you really want something, you will do it.
And I did a lot of progress.
Luca was now living 2 lives. By night, he was a creative creature.
Hold on one second. And Thor thinks he shouldn't be able to raise the price of his game by $2. I like Thor, but I think this guy deserves it. I don't know if Thor ever says this guy specifically can't do it. He might say archetypically, it's very difficult for a game in his genre and his thing to be beyond a certain price point. That sounds much more Thor style, I would say, than it is like this person should not be allowed to do X. Like, that's not really Thor style. Thor is way entirely too. He said about this game specifically. I'd be pretty surprised. I'd have to see this. I do want to see what he has to say about it because I'd be curious. He said it used to be $3 and no reason to move it to $5. I'd want to hear his thoughts, right? Because, you know, no offense, but you guys tend to boil down arguments into really simple arguments, and that's typically not how people describe it. No offense, chat.
Pouring his life force into his little prototype in Unity. And by day, he was an office worker, performing his job and paying the bills.
But this prototype work quickly stopped when Luca bagged a job as a technical director on a gaming startup, a job that required him to work long hours in Unity.
This was in the middle of the pandemic, really. Sorry, at the start of the pandemic. So it was really difficult to find a job. And just to cheer myself up, I just went to develop something in the language that I know better, which is JavaScript, using the engine I know the most, which is Phaser. And I just started for fun to work on, well, a prototype that at that time didn't have a name. Once in a while, I used to look for stuff in the asset store in Unity or on the marketplace that is just a game framework. So something that, you know, it's already a game, but I have to script it. I have to make content for it. And you never find something that is that straightforward.
There's no game. I mean, games aren't straightforward. It's not too shocking that you'd be able to find something for which you want. Even Roblox, which is a game about making games, makes making games still not easy, right? The easiest way to have a really good relationship with the engine you use is to either use it for 10 years or build your own, right? And that's really true for anything.
So I was like, maybe I can make something that straightforward, which is super basic from a gameplay perspective, and then I can just have fun making content for. And because at that time I was playing Magic Survival on Android, I was like, well, this is super simple. Maybe I can just make this super simple thing in Phaser and see how it goes. And I did the super simple thing in Phaser, and very often when I reach that point of making a prototype, I stop.
Yeah.
And this time instead, just decided to change the programmer art. It was just black and white circles with the assets from an asset pack that I almost always use to make prototypes. And this asset pack happened to be inspired by Castlevania.
That does. I was about to say, this is extremely Castlevania style, and I absolutely love that. All that makes sense. The whole Vampire Survivor, Castlevania style. Okay, this makes a lot more sense. Now it's all starting to kind of fall in. By the way, he said something that was really interesting, which is that he always just went to prototype phase and then would kind of like leave at that point. I both think this is really, really good and really, really bad all at the exact same time. And what I mean is that the ability to build something, to prototype, and then determine if you wish to continue, and to be able to reasonably say, actually, I do not wish to continue with that. I would like to actually build something else, is really good. But simply just being defeated by work is not good. You got to definitely learn that ability to know when to abandon something or how far to take something before you go, because you don't want to spend 2 years on your first project, especially if it's your first project. You want something that you can get done in a small amount of time. I mean, that's why I'm building that the little tower defense that I'm building, is because I know it's about maybe 200 to 300 hours worth of effort, and I can get that done in like a month. And I'm just going to have to really try to squeeze out the little times in my day and everything to really get it done. But when I get it done, it's going to be a great game for us to be able to play as a chat versus chat GPT, to be able to get Thor's chat versus our chat. And so I think like that, it is just such a fun idea. And I know that I've entered now officially into the sucky time where I'm beyond the prototype phase, and now it's just the boots on the ground phase. But this is also where my biggest learning is about to take place with game programming, starts now. Because I can build any project, and I built it to the point where my knowledge as just a good tool developer stops here, and I think where game programming in its entirety begins, which is at that last 20%, which is just going to be the hardest part. And it's also the funnest part. So don't ever, know when to abandon, but also know when to push through, because that last 20% is going to teach you a huge amount. A huge, huge amount. Maybe if I've already done the hard part. Maybe you're right. Maybe I haven't. I don't know.
I drop in these assets, the new prototype, another prototype looks amazing. I just absolutely fell in love with the visuals, with the ugly.
By the way, this is also why I recommend, if you don't know what you're building and you just want some art, and you don't want to spend weeks trying to make your own art, and you don't have, say, a bunch of money to be able to spend on a bunch of arts or custom art or anything like that, I'm going to give advice that I think that the average person, the average game developer is going to hate me for saying, but use ChatGPT to generate some art. Like, honestly, don't care. Just throw in some art, because something that looks good is going to help you be motivated to finish it. And then, and if you really do want to finish it, then really take the seriousness of what makes a good game, which is going to be art. But just getting something on the screen really quickly that looks nice is a very nice place to start, right? Any art's good, and you want it to like make you feel good about the art and look good. And then at that point, you can go and get real good art afterwards, right? You can always buy a cheap art pack, true. But some people, I'm just saying, some people, they live on very, very different means than you or I. And so being able to do that, that's fine. No. There's plenty of free human assets. Well, the thing is that free human assets aren't going to make an amazing game either, right? Having a really cohesive art style is going to be the best thing you can possibly do. And if you just simply want something to use, you can use that. It doesn't really matter. See, this idea of using free art packs versus art packs generated by some AI, I think you're just like, you're making a really odd distinction. Just use anything to get going. And then once you get going and you determine the direction of what you want, then go and make the things you really, really want. Because if you want to be successful, you really have to think about your art style from all the way through. It has to have a cohesive design and everything. Which is better for your AI? I think we're like splitting hairs depending on how you fall on the AI designing thing, right? An asset pack doesn't violate copyright, at least. I don't know if AI art violates copyright. I think that's a very difficult argument, and that's not a straightforward one. It's just simply not a straightforward argument. Do I think AI art looks good? No, I think AI art looks ugly. Like, it bothers me. I get extremely bothered in general by AI art. But sometimes you can bamboozle me, right? Sometimes. Right?
Pixels getting all
but it's a great little thing if you just want some potions. Just get it done. Who cares?
And mud it up, all the colors on the screen. I just absolutely loved it. And because I was having fun just by playing the prototype without having a timer, without having score, goals, experience, nothing. It was just fun to annihilate everything you see on the screen. The original.
By the way, the fact that he's making a game that he likes, that is such a good way to go about it. This is such a good way. If you make something that you enjoy, the thing is if you can make the thing that you enjoy the most, you just might find that a lot of people will enjoy it too. Now, maybe they won't. the thing is if you try to make something that other people will enjoy, I guarantee you will not make as good of one. Because if you can do it for yourself, you're going to make it exactly what you think is fun, and you know best what you think. You don't know what other people think. You're only guessing. You're drawing in the dark, right? And so just being able to just really like what you like and build what you like, man, it just comes out differently. It always does.
Plan was to make 5 different maps that were all the same. Actually, it was just a different texture for the background. And so, yeah, once again, that was mostly experimental. The first stage that came up was the library. I just decided to give it a shot and see if I would actually build stages that were a bit more interesting than just an unlimited field. The process to make weapons and actually everything back then turned into, okay, I grab a sprite from this asset pack. What is this? It's a knife. Okay, cool. But to make the simple possible projectile I can imagine with this and just shoot in the direction you're facing.
Nice. Is that supposed to be Trevor from Castlevania?
Is it fun? Yes. Okay, fantastic. That's it. Next. It was absolutely random. Just pick something and throw it in there. When I felt the game was complete, I put it on itch. It was during the summer, I don't remember, before the summer, April, and no one cared.
Yeah.
And that was upsetting because I was hoping that maybe a handful of people would notice it and maybe post a few comments. And so I was like, well, this isn't working.
By the way, that's a hard feel. It's always a hard feel when you take a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of effort and you build something and then nobody cares. You know, it's just a reality. It's just a reality that does exist. You felt that, of course. That's my biggest fear. I'd recommend never. Don't let it be a fear. You have to remember, if you still make it for yourself and nobody else likes it, you still like it. And I think that's a really important kind of concept to make sure you always have in your brain. You've made it for yourself. This is what you like the most. And even though it sucks, and if you're trying to make food or money off of that one, that might be pretty difficult, and you might that might be pretty bad, and you might have to go get a job at McDonald's. But at least you made it for you, and you completed it, and you got that experience. And I guarantee you that experience is probably going to get you somewhere else. By the way, Spying Wind, I ain't like you, okay? Man Chin Chin, you know this.
I did try to show the game at the very least to other people who use Phaser, and even then, nothing happened really. And so I was like, okay, if nobody's noticing this on itch, I will.
Ooh, hold on just 1 second. I'm unfortunately HubSpot.via HostHub. I'm getting banned. Sorry, everybody. Hold on. We're getting whatever this is. I can't believe this actually works. You think that Twitch by now would be able to so easily destroy these, which is always just so weird. I'm sorry I'm going to do this to you guys. You know, it's not fun. Okay, how do I do mod settings? What's the way you do this? Hey mods, can you put it into channel modes? Here, I'm gonna go to follower mode for a second. I'm sorry, you have to be followed for 10 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry for doing that. I typically don't like to do follower mode. No, I'm not gonna click shield mode. I'm not gonna do any of that. Luckily, I know that I believe you're real. Right, I believe you're real. Even though you're a dangerous place. Yeah, you can do a banned substring. Is that a real thing? Can some mod figure out how to do like a host hub? Hosthub.vip. Can you just ban that? Can you just ban that? That'd be really nice. Sorry for doing that. I know I don't like doing. I do not like doing follower mode. I don't. Sorry. My bad. My B. I'll take it off here in a moment. Okay. Or if a mod puts that as a blocked word, could you then? Literally 1984. Actual Nazi. Could you then, you can take it off. Spyro, sorry. You were here yesterday, but hey, guess what? You know, that's what happens. The real question is, what kind of smooth brain looks at the spam and says, yeah, I want what they're selling? You know, people are desperate out there. Like, unironically, people are desperate. And there's this weird thing that exists in somebody's mind that if you get followers, that somehow you will be able to create an online community. Despite the fact that all the followers are bots. And sometimes they think that the reason why they're failing is simply because they don't have enough viewers Okay, rare W YouTube. Okay, it is. It's a rare W YouTube. It is a rare W YouTube. Okay, right. Somehow there's this thought that does exist where people think that if they have 3,000 viewers, yeah, exactly, right. If they think if they're Fextra Life, that somehow because they have so many thousands of viewers that they will somehow grow, and then they don't because nobody liked them to begin with. And buying viewers doesn't make people like you. You know, I know it's sad. It's vanity stat, Andy. It's sad. It's sad. That's not going to be the way you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be a fool. All right, pick it back up here.
We try to put it on Steam. I don't know. The fee is not huge. It's what is 100 pounds maybe. And so it's like maybe I'll get some more visibility on the. I don't know. And then maybe if I get lucky, I can also recover expenses. You know. A lot, if not most, of the games I used to play on Steam, I bought them on huge sales, 70% off, 90% off. So for me to pay a game $3, £3, whatever, and then play for it for 400 hours is normal. And so I was like, look, this is a game with a very little production value. I cannot sell this for a crazy amount of money. So for me, it wasn't priced in a smart way, it was priced in a fair way. The game was published on Steam on December the 17th, the day after I got COVID, so being knocked out for a couple of weeks. That was probably the hardest part, to implement everything you need to actually put a web game on Steam, because Vampire Survivors was born as an HTML5 game. And so because I was feeling not great on that 17th of December because of COVID, I just press the publish button. I was like, okay, it's done. Bye. See you in a week.
I really hope that the moral of this little moment is that he goes, gets COVID, falls asleep, wakes back up in like a week or 2 weeks, and checks, and the thing is just through the roof. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping so much that's the case. Come on.
During this period, Luca did eventually find a job. It was at a game studio called Marmalade, who worked on Monopoly games for mobile and PC. He worked as a gameplay designer, but never felt comfortable there because he felt intimidated by how good everyone else on the team was. So he decided to leave and go back to the gambling company he worked at before, except this time as a web developer. But then 3 days into his old new job, something unexpected happened.
So I think it was the 7th of January, if I'm not wrong. I went to take down the Christmas tree and...
Classic taking down the Christmas tree super late. Absolutely based behavior to have a Christmas tree up and then to also, in fact, not take it down on time. Very, very good.
I noticed a message of someone telling me that a Splattercat had made a video on Vampire Survivors.
My name is Splattercat. I sift through the file to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we had Vampire Survivors. It's like $3. I promise you're going to have a good time. I'll see you later. Thanks for...
So I stopped trying to take down the...
Dang. What a sell. It's like $3, and I promise you'll have a good time. Dang. Splattercat blew this guy up.
Christmas tree, and I go and see what's happening, and that's when I see the Steam data, and I see that there is a spike in sales, basically, and in users.
That's so cool.
And that was very surreal. It wasn't huge, but it was definitely like 10, 20 times what it used to be. And that's how it started, basically. There was an initial phase of, okay, what the heck do I do now? And I just started to ask for help to anyone just to help on fixing bugs, basically, and issues that I wasn't expecting, because if your game goes to 100 people, maybe you get 1 or 2 people complaining for a bug. Once you get 10 times as many, or 100 times as many, even
65,000 people on Twitch. Jeez. That is bigger than software and game programming category times 4. Oh my goodness.
If there is more bug, you will get a lot of complaints.
So Sam, when did you come into the picture in terms of helping out Luca?
Yeah, shortly after it blew up, just in terms of, helping with fixing bugs, helping with save data issues and things like that. As you suddenly got this user base growing, you've got to deal with a lot more customers with requests and things like that.
Did you meet Luca back at the early days of the gambling company, was it?
Yeah, so I came in
Okay.
as a student, and
Nepotism? Was that nepotism mentioned right there? Did we just hear nepotism? By the way, this is why I keep telling you guys, be normal, okay? Just be a normal human and talk like a normal human. Noted, noted, and noted. How? Asking for a friend. I refuse to be normal. When I say normal, I mean don't be off-putting. Hey, man, what's your name? My name's Prime. I've just really been interested in death lately. Okay. Well, I'll see you later, Prime. That was good talking to you. Yep, please don't murder my family, right? Just don't. Maybe don't do that. Take a little bit of time and realize that you can still talk about the things you like without being extremely off-putting. I have a Pokimane pillow set. Would you like to see it? No, they don't want to see your Pokimane full body pillow set, okay? It's not quite there. That's not the way to get W's, okay, people? I like to contemplate death together, bro.
Luke was actually my buddy that was assigned when I joined to sort of show me the ropes.
Nice.
Yeah, he's kind of swooped in and saved me from that industry once the game blew up. When Lucas started doing that prototyping, and obviously through the pandemic and between those jobs, like you said before, we've all been friends for a little while, and there was a group of us that once a month, once every couple of weeks, we were just having a kind of show and tell, essentially,
Nice.
for our personal projects. And
That's
it was
so
obvious as we were going through these and Luca was building what became Vampire Survivors, quite often you'd find that we're sitting and playing Vampire Survivors instead of paying attention to the next person's demonstration of what they've been working on. You started getting to the point where it's like, I can survive till 11 minutes and I only survive till 6 minutes, and sort of competing against each other just in those show and tells, playing it there and then. So kind of, yeah, even in those early stages, you could see the promise of it.
Sam was one of a number of freelancers that Luca brought on, not just
That's how you know you've really done some good stuff, is if you do a presentation and the next presentation, sorry to the next presentation, but nobody cares about your presentation because the previous one was so good. I've been there a few times in my life, and man, when that happens, it's just so good. It's just so good. I've also been on the other side. Okay, I've been on the other side. It's savage. It's not fun, but it's really great when when that happens.
to fix bugs, but to help with community management, programming
Tiger Beetle.
support, and crucially to port the game out of the JavaScript that it had been coded in for Phaser, so that it could eventually be ported to consoles.
With more people available to help, Luca could once again
I hope everybody took the proper takeaway from this, which is, hey man, JavaScript sucks. Let's go. JavaScript W. Gotta rewrite it. Let's go. JavaScript for the prototype. Then you gotta rewrite out of JavaScript. Here we go. We're rewriting. Real indie hackers use JS. Well, it does highlight a really good point, though. Can we just really highlight a good point, which is that it probably doesn't matter what you use to prototype your idea. It doesn't really matter. You get the ability to test something out, and if you happen to be good with JavaScript, go for it. Now, me personally, I like to explore other languages, and I like to try to find the reason why you'd use one over the other and have like a good experience. And I know that the cost of writing it in a language that's incorrect, but the language that I like, inevitably leads to a refactor down the road, which could be bad, or a rewrite down the road. But a rewrite is never as expensive as the first time you write something, because you understand the concept at a deep level, which means that the second time you write it, you're always going to write it better. You will always write it better. Tell that to management. You are the management. This is for your stuff. The huge thing is like, when it comes to you writing your stuff, write it in something you like. for the reasons that you and you alone like it. Okay? Because if you do it for some other reason and all this and you really don't like it, but you're like, but this is the way people do it, you might just find that you hate it and you won't ever finish it. Just take the time to do it because you are like stoked up about it. And AF to the men, I don't know what that means, okay? I don't know what that means, but I appreciate you.
Focus on making new content, new weapons, new levels, and new characters.
So these freelancers have been helping with porting the game to a different engine, one that could actually go eventually on consoles, mobile, and so on. Let's say that in January, the amount of people that were working on the game are...
Antonio, most certainly not Trevor. This is not Trevor. Nobody calls this guy Trevor. This right here is most certainly not Trevor, okay? So don't call him Trevor.
Already.
Do not call him
The
Trevor.
actual JavaScript, it was just me plus some and another developer for some minor bug fixing. A couple of freelancers full-time
Trevor at home
on the new engine, plus a community manager part-time. At first, I wanted a little community to chat with and exchange ideas. I have made a Discord server, and I was active on the Steam forum and everything. Because
Nice.
once again, I was expecting 100 people, maybe 200. I would have been really happy with 200, just perfect. When it suddenly gets 2,000 and then 20,000, well, you either shut everything down or you get someone to help you with the community.
There's a third option. You just ignored them all. That's a third option. It's a third one. Just don't. Discord mod incoming. Let's go. Discord mod. Let's go. Let's go.
And so we have Beth, who joined as a community manager, who's been doing an absolutely fantastic job since then.
Let's go,
if
Beth.
the game managed to stay somewhat relevant for a whole year, it is, in my opinion, definitely thanks to everything Beth has been doing on the community side of things.
By the way, that is wild that an indie game of this little dimension could remain relevant that long. It is very, very impressive. I mean, typically you have these things die off pretty quick. Like the days of Flappy Bird, the days of Angry Birds, the days of birds is kind of difficult to have them stay around for a long time. Yeah, and build a whole ass subgenre.
So the demo on each can be a decent idea of the amount of content that was available in the beginning. So I think the very first version back in December had 7 characters, 1 stage, and I think 18 weapons. So considering that in the end we ended up with 40 characters, 10 stages, 72 between weapons and power-ups, 7 major gameplay mechanics that were never intended to be in the game to begin with.
Obviously, all of this comes from Luca.
What?
It comes straight out of his brain. He implements it on the JavaScript side, and then on the engine port, the entire process, we've just been playing catch up. It's like he will come in after a weekend, and we'll look at the commit history, and it will just be like, here's a load of new stuff.
So he continued to keep programming it in JavaScript to get out his ideas, to have people port it to the actual game. I think it probably would have been better just to take the L and start learning a different system and language, and then you could just run wild and run free with all the bounds of that. But very clever workaround. Okay, this is a very clever workaround. The PC version is still JavaScript. Oh, is it? Is the PC version still JavaScript? Well, there you go. It makes sense, sort of, kind of, when you really think about it. You didn't write Vampire Survivors. Exactly. I did not write Vampire Survivors. It's a very interesting approach. I don't think I've ever heard of an approach like this. Yeah, because I'm trying to relate it back to even mobile development. Mobile development, you'll often, Android and iOS will often diverge for many reasons. Exactly. Use the momentum and maintain it. It's most certainly a very novel way of doing things. I cannot say that I've seen this. Cries and Malik, lots of Malik.
Having said that, it's really interesting because we come in and we get this wow sudden, oh look what he's made over this time that we've not been looking at it. And some of the ones, there's like Soul Solution, the galaxy effect and things like that, all of these crazy particle effects, the things with gravity worlds where you've got these swirling particles happening. Those are the ones that are always, you look at them and you're in awe of it, and then you kind of panic and go, okay, how are we going to build this as well?
Is that the...
That's pretty fair. Just getting tossed a particle effect in which you just have to observe and attempt to recreate is pretty wild. Like, particle effects are super fun. Particle effects are super, super fun to write. I think I have a 2-hour video on the Vimogen where I literally hand roll my first ever particle effect. I just knew kind of generally how they work, and it was a ton of fun. This is great.
The same workflow you still use, Luca? Do you work on the JavaScript version still to this day, and the guys sort of port that one over?
Yes, at a very different rate compared to last year, but because it works well, because if you're a developer, if you get the design document in front of you, it's open to interpretation and everything, and it raises a lot of questions. If instead you have to port over something that you can already see fully implemented, that you can have access to the code as well, I think it just becomes much more straightforward.
Yeah, I can buy that argument. I you know what? I went from thinking it was fairly novel to thinking, hey, actually, no, you know what? That's actually really good. That's a really good point. That's a great argument. Great argument. You don't have interpretation. You just have concrete. Okay.
Right now, it's honestly not that important. If you make a new weapon and the weapon turns out in a different way than I made in JavaScript, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But back when we were working on porting the main game, the new engine, that was very important to get everything exactly the same, because I wanted people to have the exact same experience. I didn't want to change things. I just wanted to be better. So basically, we had a first fully working version of this new engine already during the summer. I think it was in June, and it was performing so well. We could put so much crap on screen, and it would just not drop frames at all, 0. The problem is the physics system we were using was too realistic, basically. There was friction, there were enemies bouncing on one another, and that felt wrong. That felt like a different game. I didn't feel the stupid things in Vampire Survivors with the weird arcade movements. And so because of that, we had to redo the whole physics engine.
I'm just mesmerized by this. Also, no physics equals more stuff on screen. Precisely. And so having stuff bounce off each other, you take, especially in JavaScript. JavaScript's like not great at math. Math is not JavaScript's strong point. I guess you could argue that as long as you're using a modern enough engine and all that, you get some JIT, and so then it's like close enough, right? Yeah. Abstract syntax error tree. Yeah.
So sound effects. If you have 200 explosions on the screen, you don't want to play 200 sound effects. So there was a sound system basically to port over.
You have to do so much deduping, don't you?
The same rhythm and everything. The fonts, I think they're still a problem. Yes, I see some face.
I never even thought about the sound effects, like how much you'd have to dedupe over how much amount of time. Because if you just played every single hit, it would just be such a blur of that like little blip sound. Like, how do you play that well so it doesn't sound wild?
The fonts took forever to get a font that didn't look as bad as the JavaScript one.
By the way, you're welcome for the screen tear.
But also not too good. Just, a bit of an improvement, really. And that's why it took way longer than expected to actually do the port.
And there were a lot of things like that along the way where it was kind of like, we'd implement something, we'd look at it and go, it's too clean, it's too nice, it looks too good, we need to make it crappier to kind of replicate the exact look of the original game. So it's a really interesting process, going sort of opposite to how you would normally think of, take a game and make it look better.
In an industry that is constantly trying to
Grudgifying it on purpose and shitify it on purpose. Isn't that funny that they're purposefully making things more shitty to make it better? While I just got done getting a new TV in which I had to sign into 2 different accounts just to sign into my Netflix account, and they made something better but made it shitty versus making something shitty but made it better. Like, N-shitification on accident is the world we live in. N-shitification on purpose seems to have made a great game. Crazy how that works out.
break new ground visually, there is something refreshing about a game which is intentionally trying to look worse. It certainly adds to the charm of Vampire Survivors and makes implementing new characters and weapons that bit easier. So while we're on the topic, I wanted to talk about
It sounded like it actually made it hard, because it's just like, you see all those people that make low effort shorts where it makes them like kind of look stupid and they try to talk about something technical, but they say it in a really dumb way. It's actually really, really hard to keep doing something that looks low effort. You have to, like, low effort is actually really hard. It's like one of these, it's hard to look crappy, right? It's easy to be crap. It's hard to be crappy in purpose. Stop talking shit about Warren. No, that's who I'm thinking about, is Warren. For those that don't know, he just decided last night, we were talking about this last night, he's done this really silly thing where he thought it was funny to, I started typing in QWERTY, where he made YouTube videos for no reason. And like, dude, they're just the stupidest YouTube videos you'd ever see in your lifetime. Yet they're so dang funny. Dang, I wish I could find one. Oh my gosh, I subscribe to him. Hold on. We gotta find one. We have to find one. Be your own boss. Warren Buffering.
If you want to make money off an app, you have to build an app. If you want to make money...
It's so good. But it's like, it's so hard to be that bad good. You know what I mean? Like, that's hard to be that dumb. Like, you can't just do it. And so doing something that's like good bad is most certainly a really big skill. Wait, where the hell are we?
possibly the roughest part of the entire game. The thing that you first see when you load up Vampire Survivors.
Menus?
The main menu.
So I absolutely love working with UIs. If we ignore the menu for a second, if you see like the in-game pause menu, it doesn't appear in your face, but everything has a little animation that just makes it appear. Or when you open the Arcanas menu, I spent 3 days making sure that feels good because I really like working with UIs. But the main menu is different. The main menu doesn't have to be pretty. The main menu has to send you to the main game as quickly as possible. One of the games I played during the pandemic was One Step from Eden, which is this roguelike that I absolutely loved. And in One Step from Eden, you get absolutely beautiful menus, but on the main menu, you can just tap X or whatever 3 times and you jump immediately into a new run. And I wanted the same thing. I wanted to be able on the main menu, Vampire Survivor, just to tap a button 3 times and that's it, you're playing, don't have to worry about anything. And so that way the menus.
A lot of UIs could actually learn from that. You know how many times you have to go and figure out what the hell's happening? It took me about 10 minutes to figure out how to skip a menu last night, setting up my Samsung TV. That took a long-ass time to figure out how to just simply get to the skip button. It was so difficult.
Are ugly. They're just in your face. And just like you said, as we kept adding more stuff, we just kept making the menus more complex. I'm trying to mimic that effect that I had making the game of stuff appearing only when you need it, really.
When pressing back does not go back. This is a fact of life.
As the game grew in popularity, Luca wanted to implement
A 7. Good. Hey, that's pretty good, though. Hey, you got reviewed, so that's pretty good, right? Hey, that's pretty good. You got reviewed and got a 7. Not Game of the Year material, but still pretty good.
more characters, weapons, and stages.
7 or 5 out of 10 in Kotaku. Kotaku. Nobody cares about that company or their ratings or anything they have to say. They're stupid. They're a stupid site.
Many of the ideas that hadn't made it into the game were being put together for their first DLC pack, Legacy of the Moonspell.
But before we do any of that, I wanted to go right back to the start and ask Luca, what were the inspirations behind some of Vampire Survivors' more iconic weapons and characters?
How about we start with one of my favorites, the King Bible.
What to say about that? Well, first of all, I got the sprite from the asset pack and I removed
The
the
King
cross
Bible?
and put a plus sign instead, just to avoid trouble with people who might be sensitive to the actual cross. But we three are vampires, so cool.
Can you believe that there would be a story about a vampire with whom had a cross? The offense of a cross with vampires. Oh wait, it's like a classic vampire trope. That's like how you get rid of them. You know, it's like pretty straightforward.
Who knows? Yeah, the name is a stupid pun on the name of a underground station in Rome called Re Bibbia, which in English literally translates to King Bible. This very stupid thing. Garlic, I don't know, it just felt so good when I made this incredibly stupid, simple weapon that just destroys everything that touches you.
Yep.
Or that tries to touch you.
Very garlic-like.
Yeah, I knew that would be.
This is a real life representation of what happens with garlic. Also, very, very, very straightforward right here.
The favorite weapon of most people, really. Santa Water is another stupid pun because in Italian, Santa means holy. So I wanted to have something that looked as cool as the Holy Flames visual effects from Divinity 2. And I have totally not nailed it. The best weapon is the pentagram, of course. Worst weapon, clock lancet. Or
Why is the best weapon a demonic symbol when typically it's the other way around when it comes to vampires? That's funny. A pentagram.
Is it,
Totally nailed it.
Carello?
Carello, oh my god, no, why did you ask for that? I want.
Can we all just take a funny moment? Okay, that's Joe Biden sniffing Montana. Don't worry about this. This is Montana sniffing Idaho. Montana sniffing Idaho. Don't worry about that. There is a slight irony to life that you're worried about putting a cross, but you have no worries about putting a pentagram. Right? There has to at least be minimally a funny, like there's like a funny irony somewhere here that we might be missing.
I'll tell you the whole story, but let's just say the character is the ghost of an old lady.
A pentagram is an upside down star. Right? Pentagram is an upside down star, not a right side up star.
Who used to steal a supermarket
Or
car.
pentagram. Wait. No, pentagon's 5-sided object. Pentagram is that. Okay. So you guys got me all confused now. Wait, pentagram is right side up? Dude, I don't know, okay? I learned all my facts from Doom, and in Doom 64 logo, I thought, see, it's upside down. I thought that was a pentagram, okay? I didn't know. Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Doom 64, okay? I learned my satanic knowledge from Doom. All right? I don't know shit. Wait, you're not a Satanist? Well, this changes everything. I gotta go back to Satan school immediately.
And now she's throwing them around.
The smash cars,
originally,
those are pretty
characters were supposed to just be a different set of stats, really. The main thing about the character was just supposed to be the starting weapon. It was supposed to be the way you choose your initial weapon. As the game got bigger, that was ridiculous.
So old guy gets garlic.
To keep an idea, so I just started to try and add something different to every character. Not those ones, though. Those ones were always supposed to be the joke characters, as if the other.
By the way, I love good joke characters. Like in the original Apex, the Mozambique. Dude, the Mozambique was so good. So good. Just to, like whenever you drop and someone's like, I need a gun, and then you ping Mozambique here, it's just like it's just so insulting because you might as well punch the person.
There's aren't jokes. but
Mozambique
anyway,
here.
Those were supposed to be the most weird ones for sure. A lot of enemies definitely are similar in terms of stats, but they all have their individual stats, and they change depending on the stage of the amount of enemies as well, and all of that. I think the major differences really are between enemies that have a fixed amount of health, enemies that instead scale over time, scale with your level, basically.
What's the name of that technique? Scaling with your level. Shadow of the Erdtree did that, right? What's the name of that? There's like a specific. There's a specific type of. I thought there was like an actual name to. It was not called level scaling. I thought there was actually like a name for it. I thought it started with an S, but I must be completely off. But yes, I thought there was. It's called bad design. Jeff, Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 dynamic scale. I thought there was like an
Other
actual
than
name
that,
for it.
there are
Don't-
minus
hey,
skills on the enemies, but honestly, the enemies
don't ask
are
me.
Smart enemies aren't really the point of the game.
Scaling.
There is no AI whatsoever in the game.
But yeah, since the 1.0 release has been, our focus did change to the DLC, didn't it? But a lot of the time on the development side, at least,
Scalewayling.
outside of Luca doing the creative work and actually building the content, just went on to how do we do a DLC? How do we load DLC on a JavaScript game via Steam, via Game Pass, via, on the engine port? So there was a lot of learning for us just on that initial one, besides even building the content.
So the settings existed before.
Like DLCs with like with actual downloaded content and DLCs. That just sounds very difficult. I know like that's a huge problem at Netflix is this whole idea of being like patching TVs. Like that's a real problem. Is that you have a C++ artifact that you need to like go put somewhere. And now you have to convince someone not only to have that artifact, now you have to convince them to upgrade. Like, how do you exactly do that? How do you convince television manufacturers to do that? How do you convince everybody to do all these things? It's non-trivial. That's why a lot of times you'll see a lot of this, like, especially UIs will be written in Lua because you can change the UI then without changing the game.
For the idea to
Those are
actually
problems you solve.
turn
They're
them
very
into a
difficult.
DLC pack arrived sometime during the summer, because at that time I finally had all the assets I needed to actually finish the game, to make the actual ending. And then I was like, okay, what do we do now? Glober was available. Glober Kotaku is the guy who's making the pixel art for the characters. So he was available to do
Nice.
the work, and I was like, well, let's start into something that then we'll use somehow. And I just started to put this together in my quote-unquote spare time. When I do something new, I usually start from the tools that are available to me, because that simplifies things a lot. Of course, you won't have to struggle to actually do the implementation, of course, if you start from a feature that is already available to you in the framework.
It kind of loops back around to what Luca.
But I really liked what you had to say there about struggling. You really do want to struggle. The more you can struggle, the more you can learn, the more you have to really dig deep down. Man, you learn so much stuff. Not only do you become anti-fragile, meaning that when you encounter the next problem, you know you can crush it, but you also become just so much more generally resilient to any like other problem. There's a whole bunch to this idea of becoming emotionally resilient, and it's just so dang important. Like that is, I still remember we talked about this earlier when I was doing my first kind of like attempt at game programming 15, 17 years ago, whatever it was. And I did that C++. I bet you we can even find it. C++, learn game programming, C++, FPS, right? Oopsies, not videos. I bet you there's a book. There's a book that exists way back in the day. And that it was so rough is learning game programming by, there you go, this one right here. Game programming, programming a multiplayer FPS in DirectX. This one right here. This was such a nightmare, but I learned so much. And I spent so much time trying to get this further and further and further. Dude, this book, it's a throwback. Yeah, okay, so you had it too. Dude, it's like an important moment. It was with DirectX 8, which also was known for being a gigantic security flaw. Apparently, they had to say you cannot use DirectX 8 because it's crazy security problems. DirectX was hell. DirectX was not only hell, DirectX actually was one of the contributing factors to my initial wrist pain because you have to capitalize like half your program. And I couldn't tell if I should use cap locks or not because everything is uppercase and it's so long and there's underscores and it was awful. It was just so bad.
Said right near the start about how he wanted to build something that was more of a framework for putting the content in a sense. He's built some really great systems for, ultimately everything is pretty data driven. So he can define, number of enemies that spawn at this minute and what enemies would spawn and the way they spawn. It makes it quite easy for us to sort of chop and change things and when he's designing stages to balance all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a very flexible system.
Nice.
I think that's why you see such rapid content updates from Luca.
Nice. Who doesn't love a good data-driven? Who doesn't love some good data stuff? Right? That's why I didn't mean to do this, but it turns out we are my first little game that we're doing. I have the whole idea that to run a simulation, you give it all of this and it goes through. And if you want it to render in real time, you do that. If you want to render at all, you do that. And then by doing that, you can then go zig, build, test, and you can simulate. And if I want to change the setup, you can do that. Just the ability to simulate and throw things through and to be able to actually run this stuff out. It's such a good idea to have a lot of that stuff to be configurable right away. Just, dude, beautiful.
After a year of new content, the team eventually raised the cost of the game from $3 to $5.
Okay, so this is like the big controversial point, right? That we were talking about. I'd love to talk to Thor why he says that he does not like this raising. I'm very curious about it.
But spent weeks on Twitter telling everyone about the price hike. This consumer-first ethos has likely contributed to the insanity of their over 180,000 reviews on Steam, which still have the game rated as overwhelmingly positive.
It's very tempting to look at the success of Vampire Survivors and make broad claims about what it says about our industry. That in an era where new ideas seem so rare, a game as simple as Vampire Survivors can grab onto our imaginations so tightly.
I think this just, again, speaks of just making something well in of itself. You don't need the world's greatest graphics. You don't need the world's greatest... I think we get so often stuck on everything. The feature sets, all this, but just making really good, solid gameplay. John Carmack talks about this with Doom, is that they actually... Did you know that they had this whole looting idea that was a part of Doom? That you were supposed to, like, loot and move bodies and do all this stuff. And they took it all out because they wanted the game to be fast. They wanted it to feel fast. And if they made it feel fast, then people would like it. And they love the feeling of going fast. Yeah, no reloading as well for that, right? Yeah, Doom 1. It may not have been Doom 1. It may have been Wolfenstein where they made this decision on. But it was like moving quick and making the game tight and feel really good makes such a difference. And you can do this too. Like people always talk about how Battletoads versus Ninja Turtles, some of the old NES games, always voted as one of the hardest games of all time. But when you play the original Ninja Turtles, it's hard because it doesn't feel good. But when you play Battletoads, it's hard, but it's really, really fun because of how it feels. You slide, you move, the physics are great. Like that feeling, like just imagine if Mario didn't have that really crisp feel to it. It would have not been nearly the same game. It would have actually, I guarantee you that if it wasn't so fast and so good, it would not have worked. But yeah, FromSoft does this too. The game feels good. There's something about that that's just so important. And it looks like the early versions of the game when they're moving really slow versus the later versions of the game where the movement looks so much more fluid.
But I think it's fair to say that in many ways Vampire Survivors is a rebuke of the grandness and complexity of large AAA games. A terrific example of the power of keeping a simple idea simple, of respecting your players' time and their wallets. But before it was any of that, before it was a multi-award-winning, breakthrough global sensation, Vampire Survivors was simply something an Italian immigrant living in London worked on to flex his creative muscles, to create something his friends would enjoy playing. to escape his day job and make something that would make him smile. It's just that it turned out it made a lot of us smile too.
Dude, I hope you guys have a good takeaway from this one. I see so many... Dude, there's just so much good in here. There's just so dang much good in here. And just the notion of, like... Because I know a lot of people... Like, I definitely did this a lot when I was younger. I would build things that I didn't necessarily care about, but I built them because I wanted to make money. And that was great. It taught me a lot. I was able to get a job because of it, all these kind of things. But there's definitely something about that I learned a little bit later about building my side projects around ideas that I really enjoy and leaning into. And I found that I built better things. I just built more complete things. I built things that just were really, but much better driven from me. I'm not saying that it's like it's not a requirement. If you need money, you got to build things for money. I get it, right? I'm not arguing against that. It's just that idea of really being able to lean in is just so good. I just really like it. Thank you, Funky Potato. And also a Potato. And Aaron Jacobs. And Adam, 80, man, Alex, Algaro, Ali, Alan, Anderson, Andros, Andrew, Andy, Anthony, Arno, Austin, Barry, Benjamin, Bora. Oh gosh, Charles, Chase, Chris, Christian, Christopher, go Carnage. Let's go. It's a good one. I can't do it. I can't read that fast. My brain does not work at that speed. It does not work at that speed at all. It's me, JP. Well, hey, JP. Robot Mayo. Ron. Yo. Name's Ron. It's a lot of people. Try 9. The Ron. That was great. Get that.
When NoClip saved
Here you go. Here's No Clips. There we go. No Clips. Follow. Hit that button. Click that little notification bell. Personalized. Give me that all. Give me that all. That was good. That was really, really good. I really liked it. Man, that Luca guy, man, what an inspiration. What a genuine inspiration. You know what to do. Go and get it, babies. Go and get it.